Let me know when you're ready. Just say yes.
Welcome to the Apartment Rockstar Podcast. Join the Apartment Rockstar, Robert Martinez, a real estate industry icon and a two-time National Independent Renter Owner of the Year, as he interviews the best in multifamily apartment investing and management. Follow his journey to 10,000 units and beyond.
Well, it's been a minute. Everybody, welcome back to the Apartment Rockstar Podcast. This is our first podcast in about 3 years. Lots happened last 3 years, a lot of business issues we had to take care of, personal setbacks as well. But I went to a Brad Lee event and I remembered how much fun the podcasts were. But more importantly, I remembered how important they are. I used to get a lot of messages back from everybody on the value of the podcast and what it brought. I went back, I looked at some of the famous podcasts I ever had with Brad Lee, with Grant Cardone, Tarek Musa. I think we had The Clever Investor. I want to get back to that. I think we have a lot of value. We have an accelerator program where I talk about all this stuff every day. And I want to just get back to putting my name out there. So again, welcome back. Hope we can grow our audience and strengthen our brand. I couldn't think of a better first guest back than one of our current students, Tony Stephan. Tony is a registered dietitian and discovered real estate a few years back. And we're going to hear Tony's story. But it's the power of networking. Tony and I met through a mutual friend, Bedros Keuilian, who Bedros is a name you may or may not have heard of, but he's the name behind the name you have heard of. He helps everybody build their coaching programs, build their educational platforms. He helped Tony. He's helped me. And he introduced the two of us together and said, hey, you guys should get together and do some work. So Tony found me a couple years ago, and we've been talking, and now he's part of our educational services, and I think right now is our premier student. Tony, how's it going?
Hey, Robert, I'm good, man. And first off, thank you to you so much for not only putting together this podcast and this platform, just telling your team how much we love the YouTube and all the videos you got done. But yeah, for what you've done for us, man, it's been very helpful and transformative. I'm sure we'll dive into it a little bit today, but thank you to you, man, and thank you for putting all this together.
Well, you're a great student because you also teach me. I see how much you're constantly promoting your brand. Your brand is a husband-wife brand with your lovely wife, Andrea, who additionally is her own real estate broker. Andrea, I think I remember she's a former teacher, right?
Yeah, school teacher.
And so how did you convince her to join you on your crazy change of life into a real estate investor?
Yeah, such a good question. I'm very blessed. She's been down with me from the beginning. And for every entrepreneur who wants to get your partner involved, it's just so important to, bring them in. Entrepreneurship's a scary thing. And we fear what we don't understand, right? A lot of partners, if they're not also an entrepreneur, they don't get it. So when I started my first business, I told her like, hey, I'm going to empty my savings account to do this. I don't have all the money to start, so I'm going to put the rest on a credit card, but I have to go for this. I have to start this business. Trust me, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make it work. And we're going to live a great life one day. It's going to be tough initially, but we're going to figure it out. And she was down for that from the beginning, Robert. And she saw the track record. She saw me being able to grind through it. And I kind of earned that trust. I think it's really important in any relationship. Trust is given, but trust is also earned, right? I earned it. And then when that first business blew up and took off and, I'm blessed to say made millions of dollars, we had the new problem, which was a very high tax bill. And I started reading and learning and I always say formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune, right? So I started doing all that self-education and discovered real estate. And once I discovered it, I was like, hey, you got to go all in on this. You got to trust me. And then she was just on board and she saw the power of it. That's when she got her license and then built a brokerage and took over the management, all that. So yeah,
Yeah, let me jump in there because you hit a couple of points I want to make sure we emphasize for the audience. And some of you are watching this live, and some of you are listening to it on your Spotify or to your other platforms. But Tony's a good-looking guy. Tony is in shape. So Tony, tell us about that first business. What is it? What was that first business for you, and how did you use that to jump into real estate?
Yeah. Thank you for the compliments, Robert. I appreciate that. My long version of my story is I'll condense it down. I lost my mother early on to drug addiction, and I grew up right outside of Detroit, Michigan, 10 Mile in Van Dyke in Centerline, Michigan. So very outskirts of Detroit. fitness really saved my life. You know, I lost my mother. We were going to lose our home to Chapter 7 bankruptcy. It was behind on the mortgage, all that. That was like my first introduction to real estate. It was what Chapter 7 bankruptcy meant. And my father taught me fitness. He taught me like being able to work out, you know, use that as an outlet instead of drugs, crime, all those other things. Fitness saved my life so much. I wanted to devote my life to helping others. So at age 18, I became a personal trainer. I was like, I want to go to school, become a registered dietitian. So that's like the nutrition side of it. My big dreams back then, Robert, was if I could own a gym. I'm the registered dietitian. I hire some trainers. We'll run like boot camp classes. I can make $100,000 a year. I'm killing it. And it's like the best dream ever. As I was progressing through as a registered dietitian at Lifetime Fitness for 100% commission, so 100% sales, I started discovering like, okay, you're limited, right? You can only see so many people in a day. Even if you own the gym, you can only see so much. So I found a mentor who taught me to build a business online. Because when you build a business online, you could reach thousands of people. And we ended up having thousands of customers in over 21 countries.
Wow.
So to start that business, I had to leave that job. I had to quit that safe job. Familiar story, right? I had to give up good to go for great. Charged up my credit card. First year was very difficult because I left all my clients, left all the stability I had, started everything online. First year was very difficult, struggled, wondered if it was going to pay off, but just kept that faith and kept that momentum. That business ended up taking off, and we did about $6 million profit in 4 years because the online business is very low overhead, right? You don't really have much expenses. So there's really unlimited potential with that. I mean, I lived and breathed in. My wife quit her job and she was helping me run it and do the admin and all that. But that was like the startup capital that we used to then get into real estate.
That is amazing. You know, I there's so many fitness guys out there, and there's some gurus out there, and you see them looking buff and working out. But I know so many that are not successful. You know, there's a lot of guys I see. I worked out at Equinox, and there's a lot of trainers there. And, you know, they all look great, but you wonder, man, are they making any money? You know, what do you think separated you? Is it the formal education you had as a nutritionist? What separated you to be that one in a million that can actually make money being a personal trainer or just teaching fitness as a whole?
Yeah, great question. You know, I think the depth of your struggle determines the height of your success. I'm very blessed. I struggled early on. I saw what my dad went through. I saw what it was like. I mean, my dad held down 3 jobs just to make ends meet. So by seeing that and realizing you can't just do the bare minimum and expect to, you know, live a great life and live in comfort and, you know, enjoy your life, I never thought that where I was okay. I was always like, okay, how do I get to the next business? Like a next level, a Gary Vaynerchuk thing. How do I put myself out of business? Right? Because if you can think of like that and see around the corner, it's very powerful. So I had the gift of adversity, right? I believe adversity is an advantage. And I was willing to always look around the corner. Like I knew capping out at Lifetime Fitness, I could only see 12. I've seen 12 clients a day, 12 patients a day.
What's the most money you made at Lifetime Fitness?
90,000 a year.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to get that number for everybody so they understand. You capped out at, you said 99,000?
90,000. Yeah.
90,000. And you're about to tell me that the most you can see is 12 people a day?
And you're dying at that 12th client. You're not feeling the same at client 12 as you are at client 1, right? So,
and then it's rinse and repeat every day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, I saw around that, and I was able to say, all right, I'm willing to bet on myself and take that risk and go for something bigger.
I also see you're a pretty spiritual guy. How much of your success, or how did you use your faith with your success? How did they merge?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And, you know, I believe in whatever you believe in, right? So I'm Christian, but I think we all have this like calling. We all have this voice within, right? Your conscious voice of God, voice of the universe, whatever you want to call it. I just listen to it. And it's not always easy, but like when I was at Lifetime, it was like, you're meant to do better than this. Like there's a bigger thing out there. Go for it. Faith or fear, right? I think of it like this, Robert. Faith is, even if things don't work out, I'm going to go for it. Even if I struggle, I'll get there. Fear is what if? Fear is, what if it doesn't work? What if I quit my job and I don't get any clients online? What if I buy this rental property and it doesn't work out? What if I sign up for this mastermind? I don't get, right? So which one are you going to feed? And to me, it's one life, man. So again, losing my mother early on taught me life is finite, right? 30
So it seems like you had a mentorship with God. Like that was your first mentor. It was God giving you the courage, the strength, the faith to persevere over your issues. And we all go through issues, right? But it's how we use them. But God was your first mentor to help you, that kick in the butt to move forward and not just like, woe is me.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then it seems like once you did that and you capped out, you were realizing that you need to do more. When you find another mentor, right? Because not everybody's born knowing how to make $6 million in 4 years, how to turn into a 7-figure business. So the next mentor taught you this online business. Do you mind if I ask how much you paid for that online business mentor?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I'm a big believer, Robert. When you lack resources, you have to get resourceful, right? So first mentor was Bejo Scullion, who's still my mentor to this day. His program back then was $10,000 for the year. I'm embarrassed to say, Robert, I didn't have the 10 grand. I had, I think, 4 or 5. I put the rest on a credit card. Was willing to get resourceful because I said, I don't have the money, but who has my money? Well, American Express has my money. So I'll just use their money, right? Go into this coaching program, and I know I'll be able to make at least 10 grand back and be successful with that. I think that's what kills a lot of people, especially with the real estate side of it. They're like, well, I don't have the money or I don't have the deal. Well, you have to get resourceful when you lack resources, right? When you don't have money, you have time. So you can use time, and I had time, right, to go out and get more clients and do those things to be able to pay it off. So yeah, then Bezos was my next mentor who gave me the roadmap, and he challenged me to think bigger. So I was like, hey, I'll go get a gym here in Michigan. And he said, think bigger. Right? That's what a good mentor does. That's what you do for all your students. You challenge them to think bigger. You challenge us to think bigger. You're like, stop buying 8s and 12s. Go buy 50. Go buy 100. Right? So a good mentor challenges you to think bigger than where you are today.
It's interesting because that mentor, Bedros, obviously he's a mutual friend of ours, and he was my mentor to help me start with my education program. But he was a mentor with Ed Milet. I think he talked to Grant Cardone. I think he's worked with a lot of guys that you know of. But he's kind of like been the guy behind the curtain, right? The guys that were there that they would go to for questions. So it's interesting. And the common theme is do more, be bigger. And I guess, transitioning to you and I, that's what we talked about. So let's talk a little bit more then. So then you get into this, to the online fitness space, and you decide you want to buy multifamily. Where did that inspiration come from?
To be honest, Robert, I was like, I just want to buy real estate. I didn't know about multifamily. I thought multifamily was just like esoteric thing, like, reserved for the elite few. So we just started buying houses, and it started with the Grant Cardone book, right? So when you're like, who's a mentor to you, because I believe life is about new levels, new devils, and not avoidance of problems, but new problems. So when my business was successful, making a lot of money, the new problem was we have a large tax bill. I didn't have depreciation. I didn't have any, major write-offs. It's an online business, right? So I'm like, how do I get rid of my tax bill? And my CPA is like, well, buy more furniture, buy a second house. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. It's like a liability, right? So again, formal education makes you a living, self-education makes you a fortune. Grant Cardone book, depreciation, multifamily, cost segregation. You start learning these things, you're like, oh my God. But I was afraid because I was on my own trying to figure it all out. So we started with houses. And houses there's nothing wrong with starting there. But what's the worst number in business?
What's the worst number in business?
Yeah.
Zero.
Or one, right? Like one customer, one tenant, one way to make money. Well, with a single family home, you have one customer, you have one tenant.
Right.
They move out, you're 100% vacant. So then we did like the single family, duplex, fourplex. Then I bought a 7-unit, and that's when everything started to change because we learned the power of multifamily.
It's interesting, right? Because you realize that the mentor from your CPA, who made more than you probably as an online as a fitness nutrition coach at Lifetime, still middle class thinking.
Yeah,
and he's giving you middle class advice. Go buy some furniture. Go buy this. I remember I asked my CPA. I go, how do I cut my taxes down? Because I was similar to you. He says, a lot of my clients, I pay less taxes buy real estate. He goes, go buy a house or two. But see, that's all they give you. They don't tell you any more than that. And when you don't know how to buy a house or a rent house, it's very scary. I see that with you, we all hear that we're the combination of the 5 people in our life. You traded out your Equinox friends, which I'm sure some of them were, Lifetime Fitness friends, which I'm sure some of them were good friends of yours, but you traded it out for your Fab Five of Bedros, Koulian, Grant Cardone, now me, and whoever else you listen to. And those are your 5 mentors. Those are your Fab Five. Those are the ones that you listen to next to your wife. So I think it's really interesting. The lesson for everybody here is like, you would be the combination of those 5 people. What are they telling you? Are they saying, hey, Tony, let's go have some drinks Saturday night? Hey, Tony, let's go out and have a big barbecue with all of our families on Sunday? Or are you hearing Grant Cardone whisper in your ear, man, you got to go buy us something? Or Bedros, man, you got to build your online business. You're not doing anything. And I remember Grant once saying, you don't deserve to go out and get drunk on Friday and Saturday night. You haven't earned it. You need to save that money and put it towards something. You need to save the brain cells that you're wasting and that crappy feeling you're going to feel the next day, and save that and apply that energy towards your business. So congratulations on figuring out. I think so many people haven't figured that out yet. You're only going to get what the other guy has, and that's who you're listening to. That's why you need to be really careful whose advice you listen to. So let's talk about this. So you had some success. So before, how long ago was this when you bought your first single family house?
2020, their first one.
2020. So what happened between 2020 and the day before you and I met?
Yeah, we were mostly just kind of inching up, right? So we bought some single family rentals, we bought some duplexes, we bought some 4 units. I did them all on my personal name, which, as you know, creates a lot of issues. Then your debt to income gets skewed. The lenders kept saying, why are you acquiring so much? It was all personal debt versus business debt. We bought our first 7 unit, and that's when everything changed, and that's when we really learned. I didn't know what it was called at the time. You coined it the magic formula. But I bought it, 7 units for $660,000. Everyone told me I overpaid. They all said I was stupid. I was like, okay. The NOI was $30,000 in year 1. We were able to raise the rent for $600, $700. We were able to fix them up, raise it to $1,150. Our year 1 NOI went from $30,000 before we took over to $60,000 at a 6 cap. That appraised at $1 million. I went back to the lender and said, hey, it's worth $1 million. Can I get some money out? I only put down $132,000 to buy the deal because that was 20%. It was our own money because we had profit there. You're saving.
You put down $130,000 and now it's appraising at $1 million.
Yeah. And we
pulled pretty much 10 extra money.
Well, we pulled out $250. Yeah.
No, but the value, right? You put $100 in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah. We pulled out $250 because of the NOI, right? You talk about all the time NOI divided by cap rate. That's your valuation. And it's like, Robert, I saw the matrix. I saw beyond everything. I was like, no more single family, because we didn't refinance any of those. We were getting a little trickle of cash flow, dealing with a bunch of, annoyances. Now only multifamily. So then we were buying, smaller deals, 8, 12. We got to go bigger. We know there's scale. We know there's power in this. We start realizing too, other people are raising capital. We're just using all of our own money. I didn't even know people raise capital or do syndications, all these. We need to find someone who's doing this. Because I'm a big believer in, you got to, I think you say this too, you got to earn before you learn, right? But I don't want to make mistakes, Robert. Especially in real estate, you're talking millions of dollars in mistakes. I view it as, you've already made those mistakes. I'm going to pay you the $35,000, whatever it is, and I'm going to make millions of dollars of profit because I get to learn from your mistakes. That's what a good mentor does. They save you that cost. People get so scarcity mindset, so cheap. No, I'm going to do it on my own. You're an idiot, dude. You're an absolute idiot if you try to do multifamily real estate on your own unless you come from that background. So we signed up for your coaching. We closed on a 56 unit with our own capital. And now we're closing on a 100 unit deal. We did raise some outside capital with that. And you gave us the confidence to be able to, do that.
Let's talk about the 56 unit. That's good. So before the 56 unit, what was the biggest deal you had done?
60.
16 units. So we had a conversation man, you got to go bigger, man. You got to buy more, get some economies of scales. And you had some little baby deals that you had. And I remember telling you, hey, you got to get out of those. Because the same effort it takes you to go there, it's the same effort it's going to take you to go to a bigger deal. So take out that equity. I know it's not the right time in the market to sell, but take it and buy right back into this market. And it's like nothing ever happened. Now you get to start the depreciation schedule all over again. You get a newer asset, and because more units, you're going to get eventually more dollars. It costs more, but you're going to make more. So how long ago did you buy that 56 unit?
That was October 2023. So last year, at time of recording this.
And so you're one of my students. You hear all the different NOI boosters, even the Rockstar specific NOI boosters. What's happened to your property sets?
Oh man, no, because my wife runs the management company. We have now on-site managers, and she loves all that. I mean, like even our first mastermind with you, I'm like, he literally just made us like $70,000 by a couple of things you say. Like having fees for everything. You write a check fee, your late fee, your pet fee, right? Just all the little fees that we weren't, aware of and taking advantage of. Those add up. And even we get lenders, Robert, who say to us, you guys collect so much extra income above your rent roll every month. They're like, what is this? I'm like, those are fees. Those are extra fees, but that all just goes right to the bottom line. And they love it. Of course, they love it. They just don't see it. They don't see anyone else doing that, especially like smaller deals, right? Maybe more of an institutional, but it's just huge. Things like that are invaluable because you wouldn't know that,
I've heard that many times from my lenders, like, man, you collect more other income. It's what it's called on the P&L, other income than anybody else. And, I'm that guy for you. See, I'm not the guy that's going to convince you to go buy multifamily. There's 1,001 people that'll do that, starting with Grant Cardone. I'm the guy that's going to help you when the ink dries. What are you supposed to do now? I'm the guy that's going to help you. You're right. Let's talk about one of those. You said that we charge you to pay rent. Well, I don't charge you to pay rent if you do it online. But if you're going to come in to my office and my team now has to process it, then I'm going to charge you for it because it's 2024, baby. Wake up. Everybody does everything through ACH. Everybody pays online. I don't like writing checks. I'm trying to think when's the last check that I wrote. And if it's probably a failure of mine because I didn't pay it online. Everybody's set up to do online. So when you make me go and deposit, I had to do something that's not part of our normal. So I'm going to charge you $20 a money order, $20 a check. Internally, you want to pay stupid tax? Go ahead. I'll take your rent check and my team will deposit it. Or you can just take the free route and just pay it online. And I'm glad that that's working for you. I'm glad that some of the things that we're teaching you is giving you that value because again, $1 on a 5 cap is $20. That's a 20-to-1 conversion. $1 on a 6 cap, that's $17 conversion. It adds up. Charging you $20, I just made myself $400 of new valuation, or $330, $340 at a 6 cap. It's learning how to run the deals right. Again, everybody can tell you go buy multifamily. I'm not that guy. I'm the one that's going to show you how to make your investment successful for you and for your investors. So congratulations on that. Now let's move forward, right? Because you tasted the blood now. You're like, wow, 16 units sucks. 56 unit was so much better. And look at the numbers, right? We're three times the numbers that we're making. So the income's better for you. Your return, because you're in my program, is better for you. So your valuation is going up. So that's adding to your net worth. Now you're growing and you're like, bro, I want to buy bigger. So tell us about the next one that you've been chasing.
Yeah. And it's like you said, not only is it more money, because we took over that 56 unit, the rent roll is at 44,000. After this month, we'll be at 56,000. So that's just so much more of a multiple, right, of a valuation increase. And I would even argue too, because we have an on-site manager, it's easier. Like my wife's not running there to do all that. The on-site manager is. So when you scale, you have money to pay for team members too. So yeah, I would agree with you. It is easier. So then,
and let's take a step back. And you mentioned this, right? So many people go like, I don't know how to do it. I can't do it. I need to hire somebody. What are your thoughts on hiring a third-party manager to do it for you?
It was at your mastermind. We had third-party management on, scattered sites. So 8 units, 12 units, duplex. Everything you were saying, I'm like, they don't do that. They don't do that. They don't do that. And we fired them. So again, I kind of glazed over that. yeah, we then built our own management company. The impetus of that was being at your mastermind. And I'm like, they're turning units in 3 weeks or 3 days. Our guy's taking 3 weeks. I'm like, we're losing all this. Again, what you don't know costs you, right? You don't know what you don't know. So being there, I'm like, oh my God, this isn't normal. This is not good. Fired them, built our own management company, which was definitely hard initially. And I'm blessed my wife stepped in and took care of that as I did my thing. But now looking back a year later, oh my God, it's like what you say, who are you going to get for 8%, 5%, 10% to care about your multi-million-dollar asset? Think about that, right? They can't, they won't.
So I think the confidence of doing it yourself, running your management yourself instead of relying on somebody else, gave you the confidence to double up and now chase what? What are you chasing now?
Yeah, so we're a couple of weeks out from closing a 100-unit deal, which is just going to be huge. Huge for us.
Right. But do you think you could have done that without doing your own third-party management?
No.
I'm sorry, with third-party management instead of doing it yourself?
No way, especially with bringing on an investor, because how can we guarantee the return? Because we have no control.
Exactly.
You pretend that the third-party company answers to you, but they don't. They answer to themselves. They almost like amplify you, right? They have what you want in here, and they go do whatever they want anyways.
Like we just went through, like today is May 20th. May 21st. We just went through a massive storm here in Houston. There is no way we could be this far along with debris cleanup, storm, property restoration, insurance if we're relying on somebody else, because they don't care. They would not have been there. The city was shut down Friday. My teams were on site cleaning our properties, our 19 properties that were affected in Houston. They were there Sunday. The vendors are there Monday morning. They would never have done all those things. I'm here in my office building today, and there's still debris stuff that they haven't done from Monday, and today's Tuesday. If it's yours, you're going to work harder. You're going to turn over every stone. You're going to make sure that your money's protected. When it's not your skin in the game, you're not going to get it. And I'm so happy that you've learned that lesson at such an early age. How old are you, in fact, for everybody?
Yeah, 33.
33. So he's already at the same age that I was when I started with zero. I started my career in 2007, and I was 33 years old, going on 44. He already has, how many units now do you have that are officially under your belt?
120.
120 units. So he's already so much further than I am. And now he's got a mentor that's telling him, hey, don't do this, but do this. And he's advancing his net worth. He's changing his generational tree, his family tree for his children. His children will have very different conversations with daddy and mom versus the conversations that Tony or even Andrea had with her family, because he figured out real estate. He found a mentor that helped him build a program that gave him the seed money. Then he took that seed money, bought it into real estate, and now he's found someone that will help him maximize that. So let's talk about this big deal, man. I know you're excited about it. I love getting your calls. Tell everybody about what you're working on right now.
Yeah, so we bought the 56 unit off market from a longtime seller. He purchased the property in 1993. We bought it in 2023, right? So 30-year-old, took meticulous care of it. He also had this 100 unit right down the block, so maybe like a mile down the road there. He had sold it to a big company who comes in and flips properties and then exits. I was so bummed that we missed it. And so we kind of chased them down with the broker we used. And, you talk about this all the time. Brokers are the lifeblood of your guys' business. Everyone wants deals. We bought 8 apartments off market now. It's all through broker relationships, right? Your network is your net worth. If people don't know you, they can't flow you. So build relationships with brokers. I was like, we want this deal. And I was like, Robert, I don't know, man. It's expensive. And you're like, that is the deal for you, because you can operate it best because you're right down the road. It's a strategic advantage. And you're like, man, that's going to provide a sales comp for your 56 year. I'm like, oh my God. Right. So we were aggressive in pursuing it, knowing kind of like we had that like mentor confidence of, hey, yeah, this is the right deal for you because it's the one we could run the most efficiently. We chased it down, got it under contract. And then my wife was like, this deal, let's try to raise capital. Let's just see what we can do. I'm like, okay, so we had a dollar amount in the millions that we were willing to take on, and one investor snatched it right up. And I believe that is not because we've raised capital before, but like you said, I was willing to put millions of my own money on the line with real estate before I ever asked for a dollar from someone else. And that track record, again, social media, right? Putting that track record out there gave the confidence to a potential investor to come in and with a large, it blew my mind. I'm still like in shock that he trusted us that much. I don't take that lightly. But he was willing to take everything we were willing to offer on that and say, I don't want any other investors. I just want to be the person. So being able to do it yourself first just builds that confidence with the investors that like, all right, your skin's been in the game. And I proved the formula on my own with my own money. So it was just huge, super exciting.
Yeah, something I learned through the GC system it's called the GC sequence. If the deal is good enough, sweet enough, the lender will find you and he'll want a loan on it. The equity will find you. You will build your confidence because the deal is so sweet that you can attract the investors. And then you can do it again and again. So I definitely think that you found him on social media. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's through a mutual relationship that we got introduced and just stayed in touch. But he always kept watching what I was doing and just, hey, I might be interested. Hey, would you ever take on investors? And we're always like, hey, maybe one day we will. It was just so important for us to go do it on our own and prove it first, before we ever risked anyone else coming in. And then I had the opportunity. My wife really pushed me from coming to your mastermind. So she's like, look what everyone else is doing. They're able to grow. They're able to expand, right? Without just solely risking your own money over and over again. And she's like, let's just do one. And she's like, we signed up for this mentor. See, that's another thing mentorship does for you. When you pay attention, right? Yeah. Right? And you get accountability, right? You come to the mastermind, what'd you guys do? We didn't do anything. Okay, right? Versus, hey, no, we actually went out and did what we said we were going to do. And she pushed us to do that, and that's how it is, right? And I opened it up, and he jumped right in.
So tell us a bit about this deal, right? I mean, people want to understand how much money you got to make here. So this is your largest single purchase, correct?
Right.
And it's probably more than all the other deals combined.
No,
close?
Yeah, close.
Oh, okay. So you're going to call it almost double.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to double your total assets under value, your asset value that you're going to manage. Don't want to know the exact price, but more or less, how much is this deal?
North of 10, under 20 million.
Okay. There you go. Very, 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 very sleuth of you. Okay.
Yeah.
North of 10, under 20. Okay. Now let's talk about the deal because you and I have had conversation about this deal. What has happened since you got into contracts, since you did your first underwriting?
Yeah, it's a really interesting scenario. These guys bought the deal. They're like flippers, essentially. They come in, they rehab beautifully. So they did high-end renovations, right? But they're not operators. And the money's made in operations. So they have this beautiful, fully updated asset. I mean, everything, new roofs, quartz countertops, high-end appliances, right? Poor management. When we were underwriting it, we saw some vacancy, we saw some loss to lease, we saw some concessions given to fill. We're like, oh, okay, whatever. Come to find out, again, due diligence is everything, right? You have to dig through everything. They had a manager on site last year or maybe the year before who was not screened. She was only bonused on occupancy, nothing else. So she was not screening tenants, letting anyone live there, like no background checks, no qualifications, no credits, like nothing. Filled up the occupancy, right? Falsely inflated the occupancy, got up to like 99%, but then they had massive delinquencies, massive evictions. I mean, at one,
she wasn't compensated on delinquency, right? She's only compensated on keeping it full.
And by the time they caught her, it was too late. So they had like at one time almost 40,000 in delinquency on 100 units. It's crazy. But we were able to use that to renegotiate and, work in our favor.
So let's have that convo real quick. See, I say all the time, you're paying somebody $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, and she's running literally your multi-million-dollar business. And these guys were not paying attention. They thought she knew what she was doing. He's paying north of 10, south of 20. It's going to be worth more when Tony's done with it, probably north of 20. when he's done with it. And she cost them all of that money. Yeah. And if I just to fast forward a minute, you're going to pay less than what it should be worth.
Yes.
Because she did not do the right things. She's costing them NOI. So tell me more of the story. What's happened now?
So we really came in and said, like, hey, we have to have this level cleaned up to a certain extent. I think we're going to close. Their delinquency is going to be around 10 grand, which is very digestible for us. We can clean up the rest, right? We can pick up any of the evictions, but it's been huge. So it's been huge for us. Like you said, the asset is worth at least 1 to 2 million more than what we're paying for it if they had the NOI to support it. But again, another thing, like, you learn in your coaching program, it's all about the NOI. NOI tells the story, and it doesn't matter what you think it's worth. It doesn't matter what the countertops and the granite or whatever. You have the financials to support it. And we were able to use the lender's feedback against them and say, look, guys, I love the deal. I would love to pay you what you want, but the lender doesn't. The lender said they will not finance it. So either agree to meet us there, because it's very objective at that point, right? It's very objective. Agree to meet us there, or all good, keep the deal and, enjoy. So we were able to do that.
Okay. So they said, oh, don't worry about it. I'm gonna interject an interesting point. Don't worry about it. If you don't want the deal, we're just going to extend our existing loan in January.
Yeah.
But if that were true, why did they accept $500,000 or whatever the concession you got on them?
Yeah.
Lenders the sellers not always want to tell you. Here's the thing they didn't tell you. If they extend it, it has to get requalified again. Is the NOI there to support at this point in the market? They don't know what it's going to be worth in January. Rates could go up again. There could be another disaster. Who knows? They don't want to test it because the lender's going to requalify it, and it may require them paying down the loan. Probably a lot more than the $500,000 that you got as a concession. And that puts them in a bad position. So I'm going to tell you, even if there's still 1 or 2 things you want, you can probably get it, because it's still going to be a whole lot less than them having to extend it, lose you. You have a fish on the hook. You're ready to go. And for another 100, 2,000, they could have kept you, and now they're facing what's called rebalancing with the app, because the deal's in distress. And it's not the deal. You just said this thing's beautiful. You can't wait to hop in this Ferrari and run it. It's the seller that's distressed because he's in a questionable loan that doesn't fit market parameters today. So you're in a really good spot. And it's just exciting to hear you guys because, 2 years ago, you're doing 16-unit deals. Within a year, you're doing a 56-unit deal in October, right around the time you joined our program. And now you're doing a 100-unit deal, all because you had the right circle in your sphere of influence. Chances are your next deal is not going to be less than 100 units. Chances are it's going to be greater than 100 units because you will now have sharpened your underwriting. You will have found the confidence and sharpened your operational skill. And you'll be able to move forward and like, you know what? I see another problem deal. I want to get that because it's not a sick deal. It's a sick seller. The seller is in distress, not the deal. So Tony, let's talk about that. What is your expected closing date?
Mid-June, mid-to-end of June.
And just quickly for everybody, why do you like this deal so much? What is it? What is your rehab going to look like, more or less?
Zero. They already did everything.
So they've done everything. So this is an operational play.
Yes. And like we said earlier, it was owned for 30 years by the same seller who I bought my 56-unit from, who took meticulous care for the building. I know there's going to be no deferred maintenance. They just did all the roofs. They did all the part. They did everything. So my risk has been alleviated because they took all that major risk with the rehab. I just have to come in and operate, and we know we can operate it. We
absolutely.
Yeah.
So they basically are giving you a property turnkey, and all you're going to do is come in with a better loan that works for you, and you're going to change some things operationally, which are going to enhance the NOI. You're going to generate fees. You're going to increase the rental income, and then you're going to cut expenses.
Yeah.
And you didn't have that confidence 2 years ago to do this, and now here you are buying the biggest deal of your life. I mean, how proud, besides yourself, your family must be. how proud must your wife be? Like, wow, look at my man. Like, we're doing this together. And I told you that. Like, I think husband and wives are the best. See, some of my favorite stories I watch of yours, Tony, are when you guys are out having dinner and you're at a fancy steakhouse. And what are you doing? You're celebrating your success. The business meeting. You're talking about how we got here. You're telling the same stories again. And you're talking about what you're going to do when you take over this property. And it just brings that union under God you guys have together so much stronger. Tell me a little bit about that. How does that feel when you go out there and you can, like, you know, years ago, you're on food stamps, I think is what you told me early on, to be at one of the nicest restaurants, I'm sure, in town and just eating whatever you want.
Oh, it's huge, man. Absolutely. Like you said, real estate's that powerful thing that's generational, right? And when Andrew and I were first together in college, I couldn't even afford to go out to eat. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have any money. Even when I first started my business, when we would travel for the business, I remember going to the restaurant and being like, oh my God, we're not going to be able to pay this bill right now. So it is really rewarding. You can find a partner, and it was a mentor who taught me the person you choose to marry is like the single most important decision in your business. Is being
1,000.
Yeah, taught me that. When you can grow together and bleed together. I mean, my wife has bled for it. She has scrubbed toilets in rental properties. She has staked out a unit when someone was holding over to make sure they're leaving. She's filled units and every one of our properties. She's bled for it too. So to be able to get out of the trenches, and again, I owe this to you because you said it to me. You said, Tony, do you and Andrea want to own one Subway store? And do you want to make the sandwiches and cut the bread and do the salami and whatever else? Or do you want to own a fleet of stores and manage those stores and operate at the high end of an operator? And I was like, holy shit, Andrea, he's right. Because we were running the Subway store. She was cutting the sandwiches. Like, we don't want this. So to be able to kind of progress through all that from the first house to now this will be 220 units together. Oh, it's everything.
And I'm going to add to that. Never forget that when you do have multiple deals, that you're still the most important person in that deal because you did the underwriting. You're the one that had the magic. I want this deal. You're the one that has the track record. You're the one that's gone through the experiences that are giving you gray hair probably by that point. The moment you take yourself out of that business, it's probably going to start to fall and not meet your expectation. And if that happens, then you're going to lose your reputation. So I would highly suggest that when you get to that point now where if you don't have effective systems and procedures in place, that you should sell. You should sell and take off because it's not going to generate what you used to generate because you guys are not focused on it the way you used to. So that's a tip that I would tell myself, that don't get too excited about the headlines and the clippings in the newspaper, all the awards. You're still the guy that's in the center. And the moment you take yourself out, that you don't have your fingertips and you're on the pulse of the business, it will start to fall. And it'll be okay for a minute or for a year or two. And then you're going to hit a point where like, oh crap, that's what happened to me. I'm now back in my business. We're back on the incline up. And I'll never take my hand off the wheel again. And the next time I get tired, the next time I feel like I don't want to, I will sell the business. I won't give it to somebody else. I've got to be involved in every decision, just like you have to be involved in every decision, because it means more to the two of you than it does anyone else. And the fact that there's two of you is a great thing. You guys can tag team it. Right now, I'm solo. In the future, if I tag team with someone, maybe that's a different story. But you guys can both be on there managing the business and being each other's confidant, each other's business advisor. Oh, you want to get aggressive, and she's like, no, but remember what Robert said, don't do that. Like, oh, okay. And listen to each other. But man, you guys are an outstanding example of what mentorship looks like when you're coachable, you take the advice, and how you've been able to grow. You've seen mentorship from early on with Bedros, and then later on a little with Grant, and reading some of his books, and just being obsessed with your success and 10xing your thinking, to now finding a guy that actually knows how to generate returns and is helping you generate your returns. I'm sure the money you paid us is a drop in the bucket to what you've already made and what you're going to make in the future. I know it was for me when I found my first mentor. It was $10,000 and it changed my life. So I'm excited that you're on a similar path.
Yeah. No, a good mentor costs you $0. right? Because whatever you pay, you're making back tenfold. So we appreciate you. We appreciate everything you're doing. You've been with this podcast of all the, you guys, if you don't watch them on YouTube, got to go watch those daily rocks. Those are so good, man. I'm binging them, and I get to, hear you all the time.
We got to go back and get into that, man. And thank you for being our first guest on our comeback show on our podcast. And if you're watching this and you found a lot of value, how do you find Tony? Tony, how do they find you?
Yeah, all social media, just Tony Stephan. Andrea Stephan is my wife too, if you guys want to connect with her. But yep, all social media, send me up.
And if you want to be a guest on my podcast, if you have a story, you want to talk multifamily, you want to get some tips for me and get on my show, hey, hit me up at Apartment Rockstar. Give us a call, 832-942-1196. We'll get you scheduled and we'll build you on this season. Thanks everybody for watching. Tony, thank you to you and to Andrea for not just being mentees at our program, but just being good people. There's not enough good people in the world. You're just one of those guys that shines a light and is a good guy. So thank you so much for being who you are and for being in our program.
Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll see everybody. Thank you.